A very funny incident happened to me while I was delivering my complete denture the other day. My 60-year-old female patient who was accompanied with her son asks me, "Doctor, can this denture not come in tastes?" I was confused. I asked her, "What do you mean by that?" And she said, "Oh, I'm so fond of lace. Can I just have one denture in that flavor?" Well, that just hit me. What if actually our denture bases had inbuilt flavor along with it? Would that be advantageous to us? Well, continue watching this lecture and you will have your answer for this. Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Radiopacity, your mentor and subject matter expert for dental material and prosthodontics. And today we are going to be talking about the dental resins. So, did that question make any sense to you? Would it be alright if our denture bases are flavored? Well, it's not really the case because they should never have taste or odor associated with it because it is going to be in your oral cavity for such a long time. And imagine having taste. So your taste buds are always active, your salivation is always being secreted. That cannot happen for such a long span. So hence this goes out of option. Talking about the ideal requirements, now I want you to understand one thing, okay? That it has to be aesthetically pleasing. We are going to replace something. It should exactly mimic what is being replaced. So here what I mean is that because my palate is going to be covered, my gingiva is going to be covered, I would want my denture base material to mimic that mucosa. So it needs to be transparent to translucent, often pink in color to mimic that thing. At the same time, the color should be permanent. There shouldn't be any color leaching out. It's going to be placed inside your oral cavity. You don't want that to happen. At the same time, when we talk about the dimensional stability. Now, I don't want my denture to expand overnight. It's not like your magic bubble, right? You put it in the water and the next day it blooms. No, that's not what I want. It should stay the way it is. Neither should it contract, neither should it expand. So talking about the resiliency, it is that ability of your material to regain its original shape after deformation. So do you think your denture base actually deforms and get back to its original shape? This might not happen macroscopically, but there is a chance that microscopic movement do occur. Have you heard about the term flexible dentures? What are they exactly? They are nothing but your resilient denture. They have this property. It is especially in RPD that you see. They have this property of going and engaging the undercut and deforming, coming back to its original shape when you take it out. Also, it should have good surface abrasion resistance. You don't want indentations to be there. Every time the patient is going to clean using a brush, imagine having indentation, which leads to plaque accumulation, which leads to further compromising your oral hygiene. Hence, it should have good abrasion resistance. So it should be insoluble and impermeable to oral fluid because you don't want that it is constantly in the mouth. Every time it comes in contact with saliva, it just degrades. That will eventually lead to compromising the entire denture. So that shouldn't also be the case. At the same time, it should have low specific gravity. Along with that, high flexural strength. Now I know that the masticatory ability is going to be high. Higher the masticatory load, more would I want it to flex and have strength under flexural tension. It should be able to tolerate food temperature. So what I want is either on cooling or coming in contact with heating, it shouldn't soften. Imagine it being rubber based when it actually comes in contact with hot tea. That's not what we want. It should maintain its rigidity. At the same time, it should be easy to fabricate, have good thermal conductivity, and at the same time not show a lot of thermal expansion. Every time your material is heated and it starts expanding, what is going to happen? It's actually going to compromise its dimensional stability. That also shouldn't be the case. It should be radio opaque so that it becomes very evident in your radiograph. If at all there is any dental resin that is being utilized intracoronally or even in your root structure. Your coefficient of thermal expansion should match the tooth structure that is being replaced. Imagine having a mismatch. What is going to happen? If at all there is a mismatch that happens, I have covered this under the thermal properties of dental material. Go visit that lecture and I know you will find the answer there. And the best that every patient demands all the time, it needs to be economical in nature. So now let's just quickly classify our material. I'm going to classify it under 4 types. So it is according to material, your ASA classification, thermal, and according to the purpose that it's being used. So when we talk about material, now I know that they can be of 2 types. They can either be metallic or non-metallic. So as the name suggests, metallic will have base metal alloy, which will make the framework. Where do you think is this used very routinely? If you guessed CPD, you are absolutely correct. Non-metallic are conventional dentures. According to ADA classification, it can further be divided into types based on how it polymerizes. Is it chemically polymerizing, heat cured, microwaved, light cured? So based on what is the source and how exactly the rate of reaction is happening, it is ADA classified. Talking about the thermal property can be divided into thermoplastic and thermosetting. Now I know one thing for sure, that when I'm talking about thermoplastic, it is reversible in nature. It can actually be repeatedly softened under heat and pressure, and there is no chemical change that happens. Only the physical properties are changing. On the other hand, thermosetting actually will be only molded once. It will set when it's heated and there will be chemical reaction that happens. This makes it infusible and insoluble in nature. And then talking about the purpose. Why am I exactly using this? It can be if the purpose is for temporary use or for the permanent use. What do I mean by this? So if it is used for temporary purposes, I can use my self-cure. I know the self-cure does not sustain for a very long period of time, but temporary itself is for certain weeks to few months. But if I'm giving something that is intended to last for a longer duration, I need to make sure that these are permanent in nature. So this was about your basic classification. Whenever you have a question based on dental resins, make sure that you do write about these 4 types of classification. And this is what we just discussed about, how we can classify it according to the material, the ADA classification, according to their thermal behavior, and the purpose. If you are also someone who likes writing like I just did, don't worry. The app has one specific feature that you're going to absolutely love. You can add your own notes inside the app today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and refer this to all your friends as well. So let's just quickly take one example. Okay? I'm talking about non-metallic acrylic. So I'm now going to be dividing into all the 4 types and I want you to answer along with me. Based on the material, it's non-metallic. The answer is already given. Based on the ADA specification, it is heat cured acrylic. Based on the thermal behavior, it is thermosetting. And the last, based on purpose. Now I know that my complete denture is going to be given for a permanent uses. So it is permanent as your subcategory. What I want you to do is, now I want you to Answer for B, and your shellac base, C. Few of the answers are already in the name, but other 3 to 2 you have to identify and let me know in the comment section. Let's just quickly solve the flashcard. Which property of an ideal denture-based resin is most directly responsible for minimizing residual ridge resorption? So now I know that my denture base has one property, that it distributes force equally throughout. And then there is going to be equal distribution, which is also accountable because there is close adaptation of denture base to your oral mucosa. So this was the reason that it led to distribution of equal force, which further led to this one thing, that was reduced ridge resorption. If you were able to answer this, I am very proud of you. Then talking about your MCQ. Compared to heat cure PMMA, self-cured acrylic resin has A. Higher molecular weight, lower residual monomer content, lower strength and higher residual monomer, and better color stability. So don't worry, we are going to be discussing each type in detail in upcoming videos. But if you are also as curious as me and want to learn it at this moment, the answer here is higher molecular weight. No, heat cure definitely has higher molecular weight, so this becomes incorrect. Lower residual monomer, heat cure actually has lower residual monomer. Your self-cure has more residual. So lower strength, definitely. That's the reason why your self-cure is used for temporary purpose and your heat cure is used for permanent purpose. Better color stability is again a feature of your heat cure PMMA. So this was about the MCQ and flashcard. I hope you had fun solving all of these, and if you're ready to level up, go binge watch the entire series right away. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.